Rui Yoshida. Rui Yoshida 1864–1954 was a daughter born to a family of Japanese artists 5 generations ago. Through those 5 generations, the Yoshida artists evolved from using a traditional Japanese style to producing modern Western-style art, and finally to postmodernism. Although not an artist herself. Early family history. When Rui was born in the mid-19th century, the Yoshida family was making traditional paintings for the Nakatsu warrior clan in what is now Oita Prefecture on the island of Kyushu. However, no males were born into the family to carry on the Yoshida name and work. Was often done in Japan at the time. A family without a male heir would adopt a male from another family. Rui's parents selected a young man, Kasaburo Haruno 1861–1894, whose father was also a painter for the Nakatsu clan, to be their adopted son and to marry Rui. Kasaburo had been trained by early Western-style artists in Kyoto in their use of sketch, watercolors, and oils. Later, he became the art teacher at Shiukin Junior High School in Fukuoka. There, he became a pioneer in the Western style by starting an art club and by writing 2 manuals on learning to paint with Western-style oils. Allen et al. 1920. Because Kasaburo's health was declining and because Rui had as yet not born a son, they decided to adopt a male from another family, just as Rui's parents had done. Kasaburo's most promising art student was Hiroshi Yuta 1876–1950. In 1891 they adopted him. Hiroshi Yoshida was immediately sent to study with leading Western-style artists in Kyoto. Kasaburo died at the age of 33, just 3 years after Hiroshi was adopted. That meant that the 18-year-old Hiroshi, with Rui his adoptive mother, became the head of the Yoshida family with its 5 children. Allen et al. 20. In the same year that Kasaburo died, Hiroshi and Rui took the family to Tokyo, where he could study with even more important artists. During those difficult times, Rui, who had been instrumental with her husband in choosing Hiroshi, now assisted and guided him. For example, she ground pigments by hand, mixed them with oil, and put them into tubes for Hiroshi to use in painting. Skib 36-7 at that time, as well as later, Rui was the strength and continuity behind the emerging artists. New leadership. In 1907, Hiroshi married his own adoptive sister Fujio Yoshida 1887–1987, the sister who had shown the most talent in art. For a photo of the Yoshida family at time of the wedding, see Yasunaga 172, he had actually tutored her in art before they married, and that continued. Much of what Fujio did at this young age reflected Hiroshi's style. But as time went on, the talent Hiroshi had initially seen in Fujio's work began to reveal her independent insight and aesthetic. A large exhibit of Fujio's work in 2002 at the Fuchu Museum near Tokyo showed that. Yamamura, that was one reason why joint exhibits of Fujio's and Hiroshi's watercolors in the United States in the early 20th century were so popular with the American art public and resulted so many sales. Skib in Andon 40. Rui in difficult times. Fujio's first child, daughter Chisato, was born in 1908. A son, Toshi Yoshida 1911–1995, followed in 1911. 2 months after this, Chisato died, and within a year Toshi contracted infantile paralysis. Both children had been placed in the care of servants, while Fujio yielded to Hiroshi's demands that she advance her career. Allen et al. 157. After tragedy struck both of her children, Fujio blamed herself, fell into prolonged grief, and ceased painting for almost 10 years. Allen et al. 156-7. During that time Rui took care of her, and the disabled Toshi, and the household. Rui read to her young grandson in bed and told him stories. Later, when Hiroshi and Fujio went on another tour through the United States in 1923–1925, during this time of caring for Toshi, she encouraged him to learn how to sketch animals, because that subject matter would clearly differentiate his art from that of his father. A few years later, the first woodblock prints he made were of animals. Skib 37. Hiroshi's and Fujio's other son, Hadaka Yoshida 1926–1995, also became an artist, quite independently and entirely different from his father. Allen et al. 111. Toshi was the designated heir of the Yoshida tradition. His father, however, continued to be just as demanding of him as he had been of Fujio. After a grueling sketching and painting trip to India and the Far East, Hiroshi and the 19-year-old Toshi returned home, with Toshi extremely tired and depressed. Once again, Rui took over. When the father forbade Toshi to listen to the radio, Rui provided Western novels and music for him and nursed him back to health. In later years, Toshi was unequivocal. It was not his father or his mother, but his grandmother Rui, who was most instrumental in his becoming an artist. Skib 39. In Toshi's first large woodblock print, his first print after World War II, he portrayed the interior of a Buddhist temple. To one side is an old bent-over woman wearing glasses and walking with a cane. It was his homage to Rui. Rui actually outlived Hiroshi, her adopted son, dying in 1954 at the age of 90. Skib 48. Toshi was right about Rui's importance, not only because of her profound influence on himself as an artist, but also because she was a force for stability and inspiration for the whole family during crucial times in its history. The larger story of the Yoshida family shows clearly how the Japanese often enhance certain desirable traits in their families, in a sense inserting desirable genes by means of adoption and arranged marriage. Beyond this, Rui by strength of character guided and nurtured individuals in her family to the fourth generation, enhancing her family's depth and diversity of artistic talent. Because of this, the Yoshida family artists exemplify key developments in modern Japanese art history, leading into postmodernism in the work of Hadaka's and Chizuko Yoshida's daughter, Ayumi Yoshida.